Over the past few months, I've been searching all over the internet, trying to find as much information as I can about this new Duolingo English test. And I found some great information, but also some pretty bad information too. So in this video, we're going to go through 10 of the biggest myths surrounding this test. So let's get to it. Myth number 1. The Duolingo test is easier than IELTS and TOEFL. So in terms of English proficiency, this is just simply not true. The Duolingo, the IELTS, the TOEFL, the PTE, all of these language proficiency tests all yield very similar results. So if you have a band 7 in IELTS, then you're likely to get anywhere between 115 and 120 on the Duolingo test. They are designed to yield similar results. That's why they are reliable tests. However, in terms of logistics, I think the Duolingo test can be seen as a bit easier than the other tests. Simply because you can do the Duolingo test from your home at a time that you're comfortable. So you don't have to go to a test center early in the morning. You can do this test in your living room or in your bedroom at any time you feel comfortable. So in that case, I think it could be a bit easier. Okay, myth number 2. Myth 2. You can write or speak about anything in the writing and speaking tasks. So this is the most dangerous myth on my list. The answer is no, you cannot do that. Even though the Duolingo test is not marked by a human, the computer, the AI, knows exactly the topic and knows what type of response is required. The AI is looking for topic vocabulary, a coherent answer to the question, and it's checking if you actually answer the question or not. So no, this myth is completely not true. For example, if you are given this picture to describe, you need to mention vocabulary related to cars, traffic, transportation, etc. You can't just prepare an answer and use that in your test. That's the best way to fail this test, so please ignore this myth. Myth 3. You should always write more than 50 words in the writing tasks. So for the extended writing task, the prompt would say, answer this question or answer this prompt with at least 50 words. So does this mean you can write 50 and stop, or should you always write more? Well, the answer is not really about quantity, it's about quality. If you're able to answer the question, use complex sentences, use topic vocabulary, all at 50 words, then you can stop at 50, that's not a problem. But remember that the Duolingo test is a test of your English skill. So if you write 50 words which all contain very simple sentence structures, then you won't get a high score. So the only reason to write more than 50 words is to demonstrate or show off your English. But like I said, if you can do that and stop at 50 words, that won't hurt your score at all. So this myth is not true. But you should write more than 50 words if you feel that you need more space or more sentences to show off your English or to answer the question. But stopping at 50 is okay. Myth 4. You need a native accent to get a high score in speaking. So this one's not true either. You don't need a native British, American, Australian accent to get a high score in speaking. Whatever accent you have is fine. However, don't confuse accent with pronunciation. You need to be able to use English pronunciation features effectively in order to get a high score. So things like phoneme pronunciation, connected speech, intonation, pausing at the right time. These features will definitely affect your score, but your accent will not. So don't worry about your accent, instead focus on English pronunciation features. Myth 5. Finishing the tasks quickly will get you a better score. Okay, so I understand the logic behind this myth, but again, it's not true. Every Duolingo task gives you a time limit. So if you finish it quicker, you might think that the computer sees that you're able to do it quicker, and thus your English is better, so you should get a higher score. But that's not the case. The test does not care if you finish in 10 seconds or 30 seconds. You just simply have to finish the task within the time frame. And actually, I recommend that you take your time, because these tasks on the Duolingo test, they come at you quickly. So if you finish one earlier than you expected, then take that 5 or 10 seconds to have a breather and get ready for the next question. So this myth is also false. Myth 6. Speaking quickly will get you a better score in speaking. Well, not exactly. Of course, speed and fluency are related, so you can't speak too slow, otherwise that will affect your fluency score. But if you force yourself to speak quicker than you actually can, then you could end up hurting your score because perhaps your pronunciation, your grammar, and your vocabulary will suffer just because you're trying to speak too quickly. So instead, I recommend you speak at a pace that you feel comfortable and keep that steady and smooth. This will help you a lot more than just trying to speak quickly. Myth 7. You should never repeat vocabulary in the writing and speaking tasks. So I've seen this one a lot, and I know why some students think this way, because many of the proficiency tests out there do require students to show off their vocabulary range. That means that the tests are looking for you to show off your vocabulary, to use as many words as you possibly can. So if possible, you should try to use synonyms or reference words instead of repeating the same word over and over again. But sometimes this is just not possible. And when it's not possible, you will not get marked down for using the same word over and over again. So don't worry too much about this, but always remember that if you do know a synonym, try to use that instead. Myth 8. Every sentence you write needs to be a complex sentence. Well, not exactly. Of course, when you're writing, you can use some simple sentences as well. But when possible, you should try to demonstrate your English skills by using complex sentences. Complex sentences include compound sentences, relative clauses, wish sentences, if sentences, etc. But if every single sentence in your writing is a complex sentence, then it will look very, very unnatural. So you should try to mix simple sentences with complex sentences. So to answer this myth, no, every sentence does not need to be a complex sentence. Myth 9. Using the backspace will lose you points for spelling. So this is one that my student mentioned to me. She said that if you hit the backspace, that means you delete a word, then you will lose points for spelling because the computer will think that you misspelt a word and you're changing it. Therefore, you should lose some points. This one is simply just not true. You only get marked after you actually hit that next button and move on to the next question. So you can change as much as you want before that, and you won't get knocked down for spelling at all. Myth 10. Punctuation isn't important in the dictation task. So I saw this one on a blog, and this person was trying to say that it's more important to write down every word you hear than to worry about the punctuation. And while that might be true, the punctuation is still really important. So always remember, capital letter for the first word, full stop at the end, and use commas when appropriate. If you want to get the top score on the dictation, then you need to use the punctuation marks perfectly. So those were 10 of the most common myths online about the Duolingo test. I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope this will help you get a better score on your Duolingo English test. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and like this video. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.